You know what I haven't done in a while? A tutorial video. And since our last video was that Sailor Moon Mercury bubbles effect, I'm going to show you how to do that in After Effects. So you can blast bubbles at monsters in what's ultimately, in the long run, not a great attack, but looks cool. Alright, so we're inside of After Effects, and we're going to drag our footage into a new comp. It is a green screen shot, and the green screen doesn't fully cover Sasha. We'll tackle that in a second. But first, let's go to Effects, Key Light, and select green right behind her. Go to our screen mat and do our best to get a good key out of this. Let's see. Let's clip black, bring it in, bring it in. Clip white, bring it in. I'm just going to do this roughly because I'm going to be showing you how to fine tune it. Anyways, let's soften it 1. And let's see what that looks like. Final result. Looking pretty good. Now, as the camera zooms out, you'll see that, as you expected, only the green has been removed. And then there's portions of shadow. Well, this is a real life problem you have to deal with sometimes, and that is sometimes your green screen isn't the perfect solution. So what do you do then? Well, you have to rotoscope. So at this point in the effect, you have to sit down, bring out your pen tool, and then just rotoscope around your subject. You could get away with just removing the problem areas. So right now we have a problem area right here. So you can go select your pen and then select your problem areas, create a mask and set it to subtract. Make a mask path keyframe, feather it maybe 3 pixels, and then every couple of frames adjust that path. And it takes a while, but that's just how the effect works. But what about all of this and the fact that Sasha's hands go outside of it? Well, you can make a very general mask around Sasha and then keyframe that to move with the green screen. And again, I'm not going to actually sit here and do the entire thing for you because the rotoing does take a while, but the idea is just to get it in your head that sometimes this is what you have to do to get a good key or good looking footage is actually just rotoscope. So let's put the add on top, and we've got this. Then you would go in and subtract these shadow spots there. But what about the fact that her arms are missing? Well, luckily for me, I was able to actually use Sasha's skin tone to fix that, and here's what I mean by that. I remove key light on the new layer. If you didn't notice, I duplicated this layer. I can go to Effect, Keying, Key Light, and then select your skin tone. Go to Screen Matte and try to make a perfect black solid for where her skin is. And then clip the white around it, like so. I could then make another duplicate, go to the layer beneath it, remove key light, and set it to Luma Inverted. That'll keep her skin tone. So basically this is taking the black and leaving everything where there's black and the layer beneath it, which is this layer. So this layer is just her skin. And then this layer is Sasha, but her arm's getting cut off right there. So if you combine those two, you actually keep her arms outside of the green screen. So I wanted to show you that cool trick. So now that you have that cool trick, all you have to do, and that's severely an understatement because rotoscoping is never just all you have to do, but you do have to rotoscope out these problem areas. Alright, and it's done. We have a nearly perfect looking key here. There are some bits of noise here, but just for the tutorial I'm going to move forward. There was one frame that I had to kind of clean up. I couldn't get it to work with regular rotoscoping or messing with the key, and that is this frame right here. If I turn this layer underneath off, you'll see that Sasha's arm kind of disappears up here. Basically, I just made a solid that is her skin tone, made it about to be the shape of what her arm should be, and turned it on underneath. And it all happens so quick, you don't notice that on the frame. If you're looking at it as a still frame, it looks pretty bad. But in motion, you don't notice it. But in motion, you notice it if it's gone. So we've got all of that. We're going to pre-compose it and just call this Sasha. Now we're going to make 3 backgrounds for the effect, because if you are familiar with Sailor Moon and you look at the attacks closely, there's 3 different backgrounds that happen in the Mercury Bubbles attack. So I'm going to zoom out, go to Layer, Solid, make Comp Size. We're going to make O and Aqua background. It actually doesn't really matter what color we make it, because we're going to go to Generate 4-color gradient, and we're going to move these around like so, something like that. And we're going to change these colors. So this yellow, let's make a very light aqua. This blue, let's make a normal aqua. This pink will be kind of normal blue. And then this green will be a darker blue. So you have this just kind of aqua colory array here, and then we're going to go to Distort, Turbulent Displace. We're going to move the amount way up, like that, so we get some kind of abstract looking thing. And let's mess with the size. Somewhere around there. We're going to move the evolution with an expression. Alt-click the time, the stopwatch, and say time times 60. And then that will just rotate, or animate. Let's make another solid. We're going to call this fractal noise. And you guessed it, we're going to apply some fractal noise. Fractal noise. And let's see, I believe there's a preset I used, Silk. No. Curtain. There we go. So use the curtain preset, move the brightness down, and lower the contrast so it's not so harsh. So we're going to get something like this. Set it to screen. And then Alt-click the evolution. I always unclick the evolution or any other properties that it has turned on for keyframes, because I like to set those myself. Alt-click the evolution, time times 60. It's kind of the magic number. You don't want this to be animating too fast, because in the show they're pretty still. But other than some rotation, but since it's live action, it looks weird if it's just sitting there. So we've got that. We're going to pre-compose these, call them background 1 or BG1. Place that underneath Sasha. All right, now let's go into BG1. We're going to save some time, take the CN solid we made, go back into our main comp, paste it. We're going to get rid of turbulent displace, and then add in a swirling effect, or I'm sorry, twirling effect. And then I'm just going to mess with the angle, and you'll see it does exactly like it says. It makes it twirl. Let's increase the twirl radius. And looks like we'll have to also increase the size of the solid. So let's make this 1920 by 1920. Alright, so now our swirl is full right there. And we can even mess around with the color positions, so that way we get a nice looking balance of color. There we go. I don't want as much of the dark blue, just a hint of it. Alright. Now we're going to rotate this. with, you guessed it, an expression. So Alt-click time times 360. This one we want to be moving pretty quick. And you'll probably notice that the solid doesn't completely cover up the frame when you rotate it. So let's go to a point where it's at about 45 degrees and increase the size until it fills up the frame. So let's go to solid settings, lock aspect ratios because we need it to stay a square, and say 2200. Perfect. It's like I've done this before. Okay, so that's done. Next thing we're going to do is make another solid. This one can be 1080 by 1080. It's going to be solid white. And we're going to call this orbs. Select the ellipse tool, double click, and then duplicate the mask that you just created. Subtract on the second version, feather it out. We're going to make this bubble looking thing. Then we will scale it down on the x-axis only. 40%. And you know what? We have to actually scale it down on the y. But the point is, it's going to be skinnier on the x. So just eyeball it till you get something like that. 20/60. It's a good ratio. And then we're going to move it down, just straight down to right about there. And once it's there, we're going to turn on our title safe so we can see the exact center, because we're then going to take the anchor point and move it to the exact center. Once you've done that, duplicate your orb. Let's see, we're going to make about 98 of these. 6 or 8 of these, let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then each one we're going to rotate 45 degrees. So just keep doing some simple math to where you have one of these every 45 degrees. Okay, once you have all those orbs created, we're going to go make a null object. Parent everything to the null object, and your null object should be created dead center in the middle of everything. We're going to hit R, Alt-click the stopwatch, and say time times -260. So it'll be moving at a different speed and direction from the background. So if we just look at this by scrubbing through it, we have that happening. And since it's live action, I'm going to turn on motion blur on everything. But not the comp yet, just because that'll kill my computer. With that all done, we're going to select everything we just made and make it another pre-comp called BG2. Going to move that underneath BG1. Next thing we're going to do is new solid. Going to make this a light pink. Somewhere in here. Comp size. Actually, we want this one to be a square because it's going to then become a circle. We'll double click on one of the points on the mask. Hit Shift Control or Command if you're on a Mac. Scale it down a hair. And click outside twice to deselect. We're going to feather it. And then we're going to duplicate this layer on the bottom one. Go to Layer Solid and make it white. So that's going to give us this orb with a bit of a background. We're going to go to that white solid and expand it out just a hair. Then we're going to go back into Effect or BG1, copy that first CN solid we made here, paste it, and let's see, move the turbulent displace. And we're going to go to Positions and Colors, move these around a bit, and actually let's solo the layer so we can see what we're doing. Let's move the white down here. We're just varying this up a bit. The green will go right here, and that'll go there. Okay, so that's made. We're going to take our medium magenta, parent it to the white solid, and then scale this down. Actually, before we scale it down, let's pre-compose both of these. We're just going to call this pink orb. We're going to go to Effect, Turbulent Displace, and then just make that entire orb look wonky. There. Alt-click Evolution, time times, oh, let's do 40 just so we're pretending to be different. We just want some subtle motion there. I'm going to take that orb, scale it down, move it up to right about here. Then we're going to go into BG2, take one of our orbs, go back into the main comp, paste it, and we're going to just move it around to where it's emanating from the center of this orb. So let's do that. You can eyeball it, doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, it helps if they're not uniform, so as you place these around, mess with the settings a bit. And then on one or two of these, change your settings to be a dark blue, because again, just check the effect. Let's make it an even darker blue. Let's dip down into, there we go. And that one's already in a darker area, so let's rotate that over here where it's lighter and more visible. And we'll take this one and throw it in its place. Take all of those with our pink orb and our CN solid, pre-compose them and call them BG3. And we'll take that and put it underneath BG2. So let's turn these all off. We have Sasha spinning around. Mercury bubbles. So we're at BG1, then we're going to fade it out. So I turned it on with the visibility tool. Hit T to toggle the opacity, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to fade that off over the next 12 frames. Then Alt bracket to end it. Then we'll take BG2, place its first frame to be at where the 100% keyframe is, turn it on. This will flip on. Mercury bubbles. Right there, where she shoots him forward. So let's go back a couple frames. We're going to hit T, opacity. 6 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is where the effect is really happening. Alt N bracket, BG3, move it over to the first frame. And the reason I move it over to the first frame is just to improve render speeds, because you don't want your computer to have to look at this layer and then this layer and then this layer, especially if you're only seeing this layer. Let's go to 6 seconds, 10 frames. I'm going to make a new solid. It's going to be white, just plain white. Comp size, we'll call it whiteout. Alt begin bracket, move forward 8 frames. Alt end bracket. Toggle switches, we're going to set the transfer mode to add, and then we're just going to do a simple fade up and fade out. So T, opacity, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, down. So we're going to use this to go into the last background, which is going to be on top of everything else. So we're going to duplicate the Sasha layer, go to Effect, Generate Fill. Let's see if I can do anything about that spill down here. The mess of the screen game. There we go. That's a quick fix. Going to go to Fast Blur. Repeat edge pixels. blur it out. Then we're going to go to Effect, Distort, Turbulent Displace. A lot of turbulent displace. We're going to move the size down. And then keyframe the evolution, time times 15. This one will be very slow and subtle. We're going to Alt bracket, begin this right where the 100% keyframe is on the whiteout. And then we're going to go to Layer Solid. Another fractal noise. We'll call this Fog. I'm just going to use the basic fractal noise. We're going to just use the basic fractal noise. And place it beneath the copy of Sasha. We're going to call this Silhouette. I hope that's how you spell it. Otherwise I'll feel silly. Now let's go to the fog, mess with the brightness and contrast. There we go.
Alright, so this tutorial is getting a little long. I'm going to separate it into 2 parts. Part 2 will be out either 3 weeks from now because we have a couple videos planned, or if one of those videos falls through, one of the weeks before that. So in the next 3 weeks. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that when it comes out a couple Fridays from now, or next Friday. And if you want me to do more of these, please let me know. I'm actually toying with the idea of doing a Sailor Moon video like we did with the Power Rangers video. So if you want to see me take on some more effects from the show, let me know. And I will try to do the effect you choose. I can't think of an effect I wouldn't be able to do, actually. Which Sailor Scouts attack would you like me to do? Leave in the comments below. That's it from us, and yeah, be sure to like the video if you like it, and if you use this tutorial, please send it our way. A couple people use our morphing tutorial, and I love seeing those, so if you use this, let me know so we can post about it to our fans. That's it, and punch it.